Welcome back to another episode of The Road Chose Me. My name's Dan Grech, and on today's episode, I'm going to continue the build of my custom storage cabinet for the back of my Jeep Gladiator. So if you haven't seen part one of this video, check it out now. It's where I build this frame out of lightweight aluminium and corner connectors and get it bolted into the Gladiator with a whole bunch of trade-off design decisions. Today, it's time to continue the build, skin this thing with the material that I've chosen, and get it bolted in, hopefully for the final time. Stick around, let's get into it right now. So now that I have the frame all set and I know that it fits inside the Gladiator, it's time to figure out what I'm actually going to cover this thing with. And there's a whole bunch of different choices I could make here. For the Jeep I drove around Africa, I actually lined my lockbox with steel to really give me peace of mind that my stuff would be safe. And then I covered most of my cabinets in plywood. And at the time, I didn't know if plywood would handle the moisture, handle kind of the day in and day out. Maybe it wasn't going to be strong enough. But actually it turned out for 87,000 kilometers in 3 years, all the way around Africa, it held up just fine. Plywood was the perfect material. And when I went into the hardware store here and looked at alternatives, I could buy one piece of checker plate aluminium for $250, or I can buy a whole sheet of plywood for $25. So plywood's easy to work with as well. Obviously it's budget friendly, and I know that it's up to the task. So for those reasons, I've decided to use plywood. And the basic idea, this is 6mm marine plywood. Being marine, it means it's a little bit tougher, a little bit water resistant, which is a good thing. So all I really have to do now is measure and cut the plywood into squares to fit the walls, and then just screw it on all the way around the edge into the aluminium. There are a few tricky parts where there's angles and stuff where the cabinet's near the floor, and also I'm gonna have to figure out what I'm doing for a door and how to mount a shelf in the middle of this thing. So all of those are little technicalities or little complications, but overall, all I have to do is cut plywood to shape and screw it on. And as I said before, the plan is still to cover this thing in black carpet so it kind of blends in, which means my woodworking skills don't have to be perfect to the nearest millimeter. Even if there's some gaps, even if it isn't 100% perfect, it'll all get covered in carpet anyway. Nobody's gonna see it, not even me, so I'll try to forget if I do make any little mistakes. Plenty enough preamble, let's get into it, start cutting the plywood to shape. First task on the list. All right, there we have it. The cabinet has come together really quickly and I'm really happy with it. The plywood has made it super, super strong now. Even the shelf is really strong. Of course, you'll notice there is one piece missing, and that's the door. And I've been sort of scratching my head. I did order a few things to try and make it, but the reality is I don't know what it's gonna look like until it's actually in the Jeep because of the way the tub curves in the rear door. So I'm gonna have to put it back in the Jeep right now, put some marks, take some measurements, and then scratch my head and think about how to make the door. But also, if you're curious, how heavy is it now? I would say that weighs, well, it's less than 20 pounds. It's less than 10 kilos. Somewhere in that range though, maybe 15 to 20 pounds, like 7 to 10 kilograms. So given that that's the bulk of my interior storage, I'm pretty happy with how light that is. So let's get it in the Jeep and figure out how we're gonna make a door for it. All right, so there we go. The cabinet is finally finished. That took a lot longer than I was planning, but I guess the devil is in the details. So yesterday I got most of the plywood screwed on. That was really easy. And then basically today has been the door. So from the hinges to the latch to kind of reinforcing it, because it's such a huge door, it ended up being quite floppy. And so we've made it 2 layers of plywood. We've added some reinforcing. We've got braces here for the hinges. There's a really nice little cutout in the aluminium here that the latch actually slots into. So in the end, it's finished up, you know, really, really as good as I'd ever hoped that it would. The latch closes really nicely. Obviously this thing is lockable. So in the end, the final product is great. Is it perfect to the nearest 1/10 of an inch? No, it definitely isn't, but that's fine. It doesn't need to be because I'm going to cover it in automotive carpet. And actually this stuff, I just managed to buy it. This is actually felt, it isn't carpet. So this weighs approximately nothing, which is great. But the idea is I'm just gonna run it around the whole thing and staple gun it on there. And there's pros and cons to this. Last time I decided to varnish my plywood cabinets, and that's what I used around Africa for 3 years. That worked really well. Here in the Gladiator, the interior is a little nicer. And when I first put the piece of plywood on the back wall, I decided that I would cover it in black felt just because then it'll disappear and you won't even know it's there. Kind of like the original trim piece that was there that was plastic. So as soon as I realized I was gonna do that, it occurred to me, why don't I do my cabinet in black felt as well? And will this stuff attract dust? I guess it will a little bit. Hopefully it'll cut down on noise if anything's kind of rattling, if I put it on the floor or any other places. So the idea is just try it and see how it goes. I think Velcro will stick to this, so maybe it'll be nice to be able to have things stuck on top or stuck to the sides. I don't really know, to be honest. This is a learning experience for me, so I'll stick this on now. I'll show you what that looks like. And then my interior storage is completely finished and it's time to move on to a new project. I don't know what I'm going to do just yet next. I think I need to start running wiring for my auxiliary battery and for the charge controller. Because they're mounted in behind this thing, I probably won't bolt this down permanently just yet. I'll wait until a few more things are finalized. I might just have this in there, do all the bolts up finger tight, but maybe there's a chance it'll come out again. So I hope this has been helpful. I hope you've enjoyed watching me make the interior cabinets for my Gladiator. And again, you can see this aluminium framing, it makes it really easy and really fast to get nice big square boxes. You saw how quickly it came together. And now that I've screwed the plywood on there, super easy and super lightweight and super strong. That's what I'm looking for in a storage system. So if you've enjoyed it, please do hit the thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel. And if you're looking to get behind the scenes access, early access to new videos, have input on what I'm building next, what colors I'm choosing, all of that kind of stuff is over on Patreon right now. And my supporters over there, they're getting access to all that content and a whole bunch more as well. So there's a link in the description to my Patreon if you want to go over there and have a look. I really do appreciate the support, helping me bring these videos to life and show you everything that I'm actually doing to get this Gladiator ready to drive all the way around Australia. So until next time, stay safe out there and maybe I'll bump into you on the road.